Retiring at 60 is a goal a lot of Canadians have. But when you actually sit down and run the numbers, the picture is more complex than most people expect. So the question is not just, can I retire at 60? The better questions are, what income do I actually need? Where will that income come from? And how much does my portfolio need to provide before government benefits begin? Today, we're going to walk through the real math of retiring at age 60 in Canada. What income you may need, what the gap years before government benefits look like, the portfolio size required to do that, and the planning decisions that can have a major impact on a 30-plus year retirement. I'm Chris Dureau from Green Private Wealth. Our mission is to help Canadian families turn financial complexity into a clear, actionable plan so you always know where you stand and how your future is protected. Okay, the first thing to understand is that retiring at 60, it creates a timing gap. Old age security does not start until age 65 at the earliest. Now, CPP can start at age 60, but at a permanent reduction of up to 36% compared to if you started at age 65. And if you have an employer pension, the earliest start date depends on the specific plan. So from age 60 to 65, you may be funding most or even all of your lifestyle from personal savings. That 5-year gap is one of the most important variables in the retirement at 60 calculation. And because retirement could last 30 years or more, the plan needs to account for both the early gap years and the decades that may follow that. Before we answer how much money you need, we need to start with the income you actually want the portfolio to provide you. The number you need in the bank is directly connected to what your life actually costs. A common rule of thumb says you may need 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income, but for someone retiring at age 60, that could be too simple. The early retirement years are often the highest spending years. Those are the go-go years. You may be healthier, more active, traveling more, getting those check marks on your bucket list off, helping family, renovating, or doing those things you just spent decades planning for. Then spending may slow down in the middle years. And later in retirement, healthcare, medications, and potential care costs can become more important. So instead of assuming one flat income number forever, a stronger plan maps spending across different phases. For today's conversation, let's use a real working example of a household wanting roughly $90,000 a year of spendable retirement income in today's dollars. This is not a rule, it's just an example. Your number could be higher or lower depending on your lifestyle, housing costs, travel, family support, healthcare needs, taxes, all these things, and whether you want to leave an estate. And that math starts with a 5-year gap before old age security begins. During those years, your portfolio may have to do the heaviest lifting. If you retire at 60, but you don't take CPP right away, and OAS hasn't started yet, your portfolio may need to generate the full $90,000 a year on its own, depending on your individual circumstances. If that level of income had to be supported by the portfolio over a long retirement, a simple 4% rule would point to be about $2.25 million. But here's the nuance. If you're drawing from your RRSP during those gap years, the withdrawal is fully taxable as income. So the number you withdraw is not always the number you get to spend. Depending on your province, income sources, deductions, and credits, creating $90,000 of spendable income from an RRSP could require close to $120,000 or $130,000 in gross withdrawals. That is why those gap years are not just a cash flow issue, they're a tax planning issue. In some cases, it may make sense to deliberately draw down RRSP assets during the lower income years between 60 and 65 before CPP, OAS, and future withdrawals that all stack up later in retirement. This is sometimes referred to as an RRSP meltdown strategy. But the goal is not to simply drain the RRSP. The goal is to create retirement income in a way that manages taxes over your lifetime. That means deciding which accounts to draw from first, how much to take from each one, whether did you use or preserve TFSA assets, and whether CPP should be taken early or delayed. Those are the decisions that turn a retirement number into an actual retirement income strategy. Now, once you get through those first 5 years, the retirement income picture usually starts to change. At 65, old age security can begin. For 2026, the maximum OAS pension for someone age 65 to 74 is about $743 per month, or just under $9,000 a year. CPP may also begin at 65 if you choose to defer it. So by age 65, a couple both receiving CPP and OAS could have a meaningful portion of their retirement income covered by government benefits, a guaranteed income source. Depending on CPP history and OAS eligibility, a couple could be receiving somewhere in the range of $40,000 to $48,000 a year in combined government income before tax. For illustration, if the remaining shortfall is around $46,000 a year, a 4% withdrawal rate would point to about $1.15 million in portfolio assets. But the portfolio still needs to be large enough at age 60 to get you through those gap years and still have enough left to fund the income shortfall after age 65. Okay, so let's bring this together. For this type of illustrative Ontario household example, retiring at 60 with a target of about $90,000 a year in spendable retirement income, the starting portfolio requirement may fall somewhere around between $2 and $2.5 million in investable assets. Here's the logic on that. During the gap years, the portfolio may need to fund most or all of those of the lifestyle cost. If the target is at $90,000 after tax, and much of the income is coming from taxable RRSP withdrawals, growth withdrawals could be closer from $110,000 to $130,000 a year, depending on the account structure and tax situation. Over 5 years, that could mean drawing roughly $550,000 to $650,000 from the portfolio before age 65. If the remaining shortfall is around $46,000 a year and we use a more conservative withdrawal rate of 3.5% because retirement could last 30 years or more, the portfolio may need to be around $1.3 million at age 65 to support that income gap. So working backwards, the age 60 portfolio needs to cover the 5 gap years, the post-65 income needed, taxes, inflation, healthcare cost and growth, and the sequence of return risk as well. This is why a reasonable planning estimate often lands in the range of between $2 million and $2.5 million for this type of scenario. But that range isn't universal. The real value is not just knowing the range. The real value is understanding what drives the range. There are 3 planning decisions that can have a major impact on whether retiring at 60 works. The first is CPP timing. Taking CPP at 60 gives you income earlier, but the payment is permanently reduced up to 36% compared to starting at age 65. Delaying CPP may provide a higher monthly benefit later, but it also means your portfolio has to carry more of the early retirement years. The second decision is which accounts you draw from first. A person with most of their savings in an RSP may have a very different tax picture than someone with a mix of an RSP and TFSA and non-registered. A meaningful TFSA balance can provide tax-free income, which may help manage tax brackets, OAS recovery tax, and future RIF income. Doesn't mean I'm saying necessarily draw from the TFSA first all the time, but it's something to look at in the balance or grand scheme of all these different accounts and income sources. 2 households can retire with the same total portfolio value and still end up with very different after-tax outcomes, depending on where the money is held. The third decision is healthcare and contingency planning. When employment ends, a lot of times group benefits often end or significantly decrease. A retirement plan for someone retiring at 60 should include a healthcare line item in that grows over time. Because the risk is not just running out of money in a spreadsheet, the risk is building a plan that does not reflect the real cost of long-term retirement. Retiring at 60 in Canada is achievable, but the gap years before government benefits begin can require your portfolio to carry most or all of that income load. So a couple times in this video, we've mentioned that benchmark or example we used of someone retiring at age 60 that needs $90,000 a year, and to get that, roughly they need a portfolio in the range of $2 million to $2.5 million in assets. But that range is only a starting point. The real answer depends on your spending, CPP, OAS timing, account structure, tax situation, healthcare costs, investment returns, inflation, all of these things. And also, what the most important one is, what do you want your retirement to look like? The number matters, but the plan behind the number matters even more. All right, if you were thinking about whether retiring at 60 is realistic for your situation, please download our free guide, the Canadian Retirement Tune-Up. It is a very valuable resource. It walks through key planning questions Canadians should review before making the retirement decision, including income planning, tax efficiency, government benefits, and what the numbers may need to look like for your specific life. You can find the link in the description below. Do yourself a favor and just spend some time going through this because it's important to do this type of planning. And if this video was useful, please give it a like, share it with someone who's thinking about retiring early, and please subscribe for more retirement planning content for Canadians. I'm Chris Durow with Green Private Wealth. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.